My name is Austin Wallace. This is my introduction for the leading video option. I chose option number 2. Under direction of campus member, develop an agenda for a meeting that will lead at the conclusion of the meeting, survey those in attendance regarding time management, effective communication, collaboration, listening, and relevance of topics discussed. So I will be leading a meeting with the new teachers in our building, so there's probably about 10 of them. The reason I chose this is because my mentor, who is the building principal, Dan Bollinger, he asked one of the assistant principals who's in charge of new teachers, her name is Jennifer Marsh, he asked me and her to work on an agenda to help the new teachers in the building to maybe better acclimate them to what we ask them to do as new teachers and kind of get them used to the culture and norms of the school. So what we did is after I talked to Jen, she talked to me about what she had to do during new teacher orientation at the very beginning of the school year, and then at the beginning of the second semester she wants to have a meeting with all those teachers to see how they did and how they felt about the school year. So what we have done already is we created a survey using a Google form and sent that out to all the new teachers, and they replied back to the survey. And in the survey we asked a bunch of different questions about information regarding the school and procedures and policies, and we try to find out how many of them not only understood it when we first gave it to them, so beginning of the year when Jen had her first meeting, but also how many of them now understand it, or if there's anything they still struggle with. So that's kind of what we did. We probably created about 3 or 4 different surveys, or one survey, yes, and modified it 3 or 4 times just to make sure we got all the answers that were the questions that were good enough for the survey and made them good questions. And so we got about 4 responses of the 10. And Jen and I talked about why we thought that happened, and we think the biggest reason for that is because some of those teachers didn't have a Google account, so they couldn't get the app. So we also gave them a paper copy, but they didn't get those back to us in time for us to tally things like that. Anyway, the survey came back, and there were a couple of things that some people said they were still a little confused on. So we went over different drills and policies. So we went fire drills and lockdown drills and how that works and what all that means, what they need to be doing. They also want to know how to talk about enter substitutes and report absences. So we went over the programs to do that. And I think the biggest thing after that they had issues on were behavioral and other administrative forms to refer them to the office, and what we kind of look for. So anyway, we are going to be having our meeting tomorrow to talk about that. We're meeting at lunchtime. We have on Mondays we have a club schedule meeting, so we have 20 minutes of the day where if you are a club sponsor, you can have your kids come into your room and be part of your club, and if you're not, then you pretty much have another 20 minutes of free planning time. Anyway, so we had the teachers planning on coming in tomorrow to do that. We're going to meet in the office. There's a big conference room. Well, it's not really big, but it should fit everyone in the conference room. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow. Let's see. So I talked about what's on the item, how long and where it will be, the materials will be needed. I'm gonna actually already got these forms printed out, and I'm gonna bring them with me to share with the new teachers so they can see the forms and talk about go through how to fill them out and everything like that. I'm hoping to have a computer and a projector there, but I'm not sure if that will be the case or not because it is a little conference room. So I will also ask at the end of our meeting, I plan on going around to all the teachers that are coming and asking them the questions that the video guidelines ask for: time management, effective communication, collaboration, listening, relevance to topics discussed, and see how they felt I did and all that. I already did a survey, so I don't want to send another survey, but I just go to them one-on-one. Like I said, there's only about 10 teachers, so it's not that big of a deal. I'll go just talk to them during their planning times. I have a list of all that already. Anyway, so that's the leading video that I did, option number 2. Once again, I did it because our principal wanted me to do something with the new teachers, and so the assistant principal over new teachers and I decided that this was probably the best way to do it in the best format. so everyone's aware, I'm working on my Type D for an admin license to be an AD really more than anything else, but gotta go through all the steps everyone else does. Well, they know.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, so I was talking with Jen about things that she wanted to get done or do, and meet with Dan as well and talk about what they want to do for school-wide, and we had a couple of thoughts. First was on MYP, so on the end of the agenda, if we have extra time, we'll talk about MYP a little bit. That was Dan's idea. And the other thing that Jen wanted to go with just all the new teachers in building, to go over, just make sure we all know what we're doing. So those who filled out the survey that we sent through Google Apps, thank you so much. That kind of gives us an idea of what we're doing on. And I wanted to so Jen, when she said she had a meeting with you guys earlier, and she had a bunch of things that she went over from the district, so a district checklist. So pretty much all the questions on the survey were based on the district checklist, just to make sure we hit them all. And there were a few that people had some questions on, so that's why we want to go over what those look like and what those mean. So the first one that we had a lot of people, like I said, 4 people answered, and someone said that they felt comfortable, they didn't feel comfortable at the beginning, and they still kind of confused. So those ones that we had not comfortable at the beginning and still not comfortable, those are the ones we want to go over with. And then if we have any time, we'll talk about maybe any questions we have about what goes on in the Canvas. It's second semester, I understand, so hopefully everything is a lot more clear than it was at the beginning of the year. Especially for those new teachers. New, right? Mm-hmm. New, high school new. You've taught for a while, you've taught for a while, so bear with us all. So the first thing I want to talk about is the safety routines in our school. We're just going to go in order here. So the first one is the fire drills. So I believe we have to have 8 fire drills a year, either real drills or a real someone hold the alarm drill,
So
which we've already had. Those count as well for everything.
Even though it was at, what time's the bell?
52.
Yeah,
we were all out.
Yeah, it was on.
And it
Right.
rang as we were walking
Yeah,
out.
I believe so.
We counted it.
Right, because
Awesome.
if it's either a drill or just someone holds the alarm, it's going to count. So just so everyone knows, I don't have the map. Where is everyone out in the building? They're in most of you're all over the place. You're
3 of us
auditorium.
go that way.
Yes, I was saying everyone's gonna meet up in the football field.
Everyone
meets up in the football field.
Okay.
If we're in the west building, which you're in the west building, then we're supposed to go actually between the 2 buildings, between the main building, west building, and go out through the gate in the fence right before the football field. The auditorium, I believe you go out through the parking lot and go back around by the baseball field. And
That's
stuff,
what
I
all
believe.
the music hallway people do.
Yeah.
And then A and D hall, I'm assuming,
Not through the building.
or B and D hall, B and C hall.
Yeah, just
I'm on first base.
You're on first
I know
base.
it that way.
Okay,
The
so
other way.
first base,
What?
you do the same thing. You head out
What? Yes.
through between
yes.
the main building and the west building, and then head out to or.
Actually, no. We just go down the hallway.
Oh, yeah.
Do you go to second base and you go out?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's what we've always
Should I
done.
not be
There's
doing
always
that?
been
Well,
this-
where's your classroom at?
I'm in that weird cubby hole.
43.
Yeah.
They're closer to the first base
I would
door.
assume you would be going out actually first base door, then going between the buildings
Okay.
outside, because if there's a real fire, we don't really want to walk through.
No,
the,
totally. But we've always just gone.
Yeah.
So head out.
Yeah, I would say
First
since
base.
whoever it's closer. If you're right in the middle, like Dave Carlin's
Yeah.
room, then you can go either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Can I have your party
no, Nick,
pass?
you're fine. That's gonna be a detention, sir.
We are going to
We're
need
gonna
you
talk
though,
about
so.
that.
Yeah.
So-
Yes. you have
I'm so
questions
glad
for
you
her.
can do
He
campus
said
cleanup on a
he's
full
gonna
bill.
get okay enough and we're gonna
Warm.
talk about
Hey, so
Yeah.
everyone is in the football field,
Yeah.
ultimately.
Ultimately, so the whole point of everyone going to the football field is that we know where everyone's at, so we can all take. So for example, what I do on my kids,
so that we
I
can
say if there's a
evacuate
fire
this
alarm, I say they're gonna meet me on the
to the street.
the east side bleachers, or I guess I say the west side bleachers. There's only one, and so fire alarms, they all just go meet me out there, and I just go take roll, and we're right there. So yeah, so you gotta find your way out to the football field. So for you probably go up.
I usually go
C
through
hall, right?
science. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends where you're at. You're gonna go.
You can just exit.
So really, the best. What we're trying to look
Yeah,
for is
we
everyone
can
get
go.
outside and head that way.
Yeah.
Get outside as soon as possible. You're not walking through
Yeah.
the building.
That's-
So that's what we're talking about there. Any questions about the fire drills? Or?
No, that's cleared it up.
Okay, the next one is shelter in place and the lockdown. So we probably talk about lockdown first. So the lockdown is only going to come if it's announced. there'll be a lockdown. And so for a lockdown, what you're supposed to do is supposed to get all your kids and hide them. So in the west building, we have windows, so I usually keep my window closed. Your door should be locked. I always keep my door locked, and I just keep it open at all times, and I just shut it. When that happens, and I put my kids in the corner, not supposed to talk, supposed to be kind of quiet. No teaching is supposed to be going on. And the only time we're relieved of a lockdown duty is when the police come through and tell us otherwise, saying we're now in shelter in place. So if you hear any announcement on the intercom that says we're in shelter in place, don't believe it until a police officer has come to your door, or I believe it's only the police, correct? That have come to your classroom. I don't think it's even district personnel. I think it has to be the police, if I remember correctly.
I think there was confusion because
There was
multiple people were
confusion.
There
coming
was
to the doors.
a great deal
Right.
of confusion. Sarah, you should we go into lockdown? Please just, I think the biggest is to know and understand the difference between shelter in place and a lockdown. Lockdown, lights off, music off. You're in a closet. Lockdown.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I would get them up behind the curtain,
Yes.
backstage. That's
That's the hardest thing being
because
in the
I'm not,
auditorium.
there is no way I am running up and shutting all those doors. Like, that is too far.
So you're back in, which I don't even, depending on the class size, I don't even know if you could get in your dressing room, that closet.
Depends on what state of cleanliness it's in.
At
I
what
mean, we-
point a show has just started or ended?
Yes, we're working on organizing it, so hopefully in the future it will be pretty much clear unless we're right before a show.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we were talking about that up back, even if it's just up behind the curtain.
It truly
it's
is
back.
hidden. It truly is
Right.
assumed
And
as
then-
an internal
Right,
threat.
right.
And they say, like in the library, because most of us will be in the library as well, that we can go to the teacher lounge, that's usually locked, or into the two offices, the 3 rooms, the math office and the 2 other offices that we can always just lock you in there. The best would be the teacher lounge.
130 as well,
Yeah,
the computer
right,
is
and I would
next
say
to
that's
the
the
office.
best option because there's no windows in there and you can lock both doors. Whereas if you go to the 2 offices in the library, there's windows on those. So.
And then half the time, there will be other students already in
Right.
130.
Right, and it's okay if it's a
So-
lockdown, doesn't matter.
So just heads up, it could get very crowded and
Right.
smelly.
Yes.
So just heads up,
Usually the lockdowns,
because there's usually already.
they're pretty quick about, if it's just a drill, that has been, they're usually
Yeah.
pretty quick about coming through and saying, now you're in shelter in place. So that's what we're looking for. Remember, lockdowns just in the corner, you're not teaching,
What you
nothing's
need
going
to
on.
know is with a lockdown, there will be not administration, it will be a uniform of some sort. They even use DOW people
Right.
in our lockdowns, because when they get a lockdown or whatever the call is that would put us in lockdown,
Everyone
law
comes.
enforcement in the county
Anyone who's
comes.
available will come.
Yeah, so it can be DOW, what else would be law enforcement that
Fire,
isn't?
right?
Fire, so we have Palisade, you'll have Mesa County, we may have city,
Right, and
I
that's
don't
what they
know.
said. I think they said if it's real, if the thing, they'll have other
they'll
people
have
come from
Grand
all over.
Junction,
That's right.
Copper,
State
Palisade,
Patrol.
obviously, State Patrol, and then I do believe DOW. So the biggest thing is, they know, and I've heard them talk about it, they know that it is their responsibility to identify who they are when they're coming into a classroom because they have keys. They
Right.
also know if they get hit with a bat,
Yes, it is. I mean,
if they get
I'm
hit with a
expecting
bat,
it.
a
It's-
coffee
yeah,
mug, a
it's,
golf club,
in that hole,
wasp
it's like that,
spray.
it's right there, so we can-
Anything we have on hand.
anything we have on hand, because they did not identify themselves, it's their fault.
Yeah, and they've said when we had our first meeting, they said it's up to you. If you're a fighter, then be a fighter. If you're not, don't be a fighter. Don't do what's weird for you. Just be yourself.
How about keys? I mean, does my key fit the library if I'm in there?
No.
I mean, like if
No.
I'm in Reese's,
Yeah, and
That's
that's the
the
problem
problem.
with the rooms in the library. Most of the time, those doors are locked automatically.
Right.
And so like you're in the library, you go, oh, I know 130 is available. Unless somebody's on the other side that has a key,
Right.
it's not going to
But you also have the
happen.
librarians that have keys. Also, the staff lounge. You can get to
That
the
was
staff lounge
usually
without a
open.
key. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no key necessary to get
And
to there. So.
I think that the behind, like near Scroggins' desk, they go back there, like it looks like his
Those are
bathroom,
two
that's really the
closets.
closets. The closets would be a more ideal place because even 130, those walls, these walls are not that thick.
Right.
And you're entirely exposed.
Right.
So you know, I mean, if it's the real deal, I'm keeping my kids away from those walls.
Right, but you gotta find a place that's without windows, which is the problem with the library.
And always assume shelter in place or a lockdown is the real deal.
Yeah.
Shelter in place, we've used shelter in place, like there's a bear on straws.
Yeah. And eviction.
So the difference between shelter in place and lockdown is shelter in place, you can still do your teaching.
Mhm.
You can still, because usually what shelter in place implies is there's an outside threat. So we've done it before, like the bear, and then when they've had the drug dogs come through, we do shelter in place. We do
A bank
lockdown.
robber,
A bank robber that's in the neighborhood,
or they fled, or was a domestic
Or we had-
thing, and they were on the road to somewhere, but they didn't want our people to be outside.
And we had an instance, was it last year, when Dan was dealing with a student, and the student got belligerent, and the police were called in, and they did shelter in place, so that way no one would be in the hall when they were
Passing period.
taking the student gently into the night. So that's also why I use shelter in place. So shelter in place, and from shelter in place, you can be,
I'll bring you soup.
Okay.
from shelter in place, you can be dismissed, from the intercom. I'm so sorry. You're fine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she's got two
'Cause-
students.
Yeah.
You're okay. Thank you so much.
I'll bring you some yummy bread
Oh,
and
yeah,
soup.
save a piece of that, go ahead.
So Sherry will usually be announcing that, hey, shelter in place, then go back to your normal teaching. So from the intercom, we can do that from there, but not from lockdown. Any questions about those lockdowns?
Well, I guess keys, you know, I mean, I'm in Ritz's room, I'm gonna be in.
Don't you have keys to all those rooms?
Does your key not, so in a shelter in place or a lockdown, a big difference, lockdown, people who don't have
Sure.
classes, they go, I'm sorry, shelter in place, those who don't have classes go to a door.
Even in lockdown,
Just-
If they don't have,
even lockdown.
even in lockdown.
Yeah, so in the west building, there, Mr. Guajardo and I are in one spot, and on the other side, I think there's two people who watch each door.
So, but in either of those cases, we have a swipe, and you can, the doors outside to us, you cannot get into them. Not the classroom doors, the
Right.
outside doors.
He's talking about his classroom, how does he lock it if
Well,
it's?
yeah, occasionally I am there by myself because I'm certified and they're comfortable, whatever.
Right.
The kids been needing. And if it were to happen, you know, I've been in
Exactly.
Ritz's by myself.
And the door's unlocked,
Well,
and
you
you don't
know,
have
I
a
mean,
key to lock
Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
guess
example,
hypothetically
what
speaking.
if? What if the door
Right.
is unlocked?
That's about I understand that you should have a key to every room that you have to teach in. So
or
if
the
you're in
double
the,
zero, but I don't really want that.
yeah, I don't know if
So
you
you
want
could
that.
talk to,
Yeah, I don't
you
really
could
want
talk
But I
to
think
Dan about
if
it.
you're a
Let me
traveling
talk to
teacher, I think
Dan,
you should.
he's
yeah.
our key guy.
Okay.
Yep.
And, you know, the last thing I want is everyone's key in case I'm in that class because I got a kid in
Then
that
you gotta
class.
figure out which key goes
Yeah,
to
then you
the
gotta
door.
fumble bumble through 'em.
But you know for sure that your key does not, which I would assume that the west building.
All the West buildings the
Doors.
same, all the math halls the same, most of the social studies halls the same, not all of it. All the science are the same.
So I will
Okay.
find out, because if you're in another room, you can't lock any other room, you can only lock your west building, you're in the main building, so you can't lock a west
Yeah.
building
Yeah,
door.
yeah, and Lee's in West and.
We'll follow up.
Yeah, and then I color code mine,
Yeah, I suppose.
so just Ace. I got the small
But then you gotta remember what
ones.
color is what.
Yeah, but it's way easier
I'm
though.
looking for the number.
cute little keychain.
So-
I have one that's all in my theater.
Yeah, because you have lots of keys.
I have
I've
one
done it
this
before, and
big.
all of a sudden they start breaking up, so I'm like, well, that was
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
But-
I get new ones.
Yeah.
They're 10 cents at Ace.
Nice.
So, and if you're nice to them, they'll put it on your
Oh,
Oh,
Nice.
whoops.
Yeah.
That'd be nice though. There's a problem,
Already
sorry,
running.
yeah.
Exactly.
I used to have a really busted part. But
Yeah.
you know, I could end up with a lot, and then I guess I could return them when I'm out of the
Mhm.
classroom.
Mhm.
Sometimes in a classroom, because the kid wants me to watch him do a speech.
Right,
You know,
Right.
just
right,
go
I
in
can
there.
see you too,
Yeah.
specifically in different rooms. In previous buildings I've been in, and you guys have been in previous buildings, so see, if this matches, oh, here's our key guy now.
Oh.
We have key questions.
Key questions.
Key
Is that like
questions.
key
That's-
questions or key
Questions about
questions?
keys.
Or literal
Oh.
keys.
Yes.
All right.
Literal.
So if we have Lee, for example, that's going through multiple rooms, and there's a lockdown, and he should have a key to every single room
Mhm.
he's gonna be in, but, okay.
It's almost kind of like everyone's, but not really. I mean, for an example, occasionally a kid will ask me to come watch them do something because they're nervous, and so I'll just head to like McDowell's room to watch them do a speech.
Right.
Probably the only time I'm going to do it that quarter. I don't have any key to anything west. And like I'm in Ritz's now, and I think I was in Baskin's first quarter, I mean, should I just be asking for that key when that
You can.
comes up?
Like rotate
You
that
can,
out.
I mean, there's two sides to that too. If there's a lockdown, the doors should stay locked.
Well, we're talking about classroom doors.
Classroom doors should
They should
stay
always
locked.
be locked.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
They
that's
should
what
be
I was
locked
gonna
and
say,
then
we
propped
have
open.
in other buildings put in
Magnets.
the magnet.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is take the magnet out and it locks.
See, now I always just leave my door open but locked, so I always don't worry about that. But
So even with
That's
like
right.
subs, I will go open the doors for them, leave it
Lock
locked,
it.
and I'll tell them your door is locked in case there's a lockdown, and put the foot wedge in there.
Which they've
Okay.
all been
Instructed.
instructed, and so they actually will remind me many times when now you're gonna lock that back up, right? Or they'll ask for the magnet, or I'll just say, use the footrest or the
Yeah.
foot stop.
So I would say lockdowns shouldn't be that shouldn't be the concern, but just accessibility to the room is
Sure.
something we can give you a key for.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I guess if everyone's on board, all the
just you,
staff-
sorry, Lee.
No, I mean, if all the staff's on board in terms of locking the key and propping it open.
Right.
then, yeah, it should be good.
Well,
Right.
you know, and in theory, the reason is you should be just pulling your door
Yeah,
shut.
real quick.
It's, you know, especially if there's something going on in the building and you're trying to lock your door,
Yeah.
that's just not something I would want to.
Right.
I mean, you should typically, if there's something really going on, you're kind of in a state of panic. And trying to lock your door is the last thing you want to have to be doing, is why you leave it locked. It's extra time, it's extra exposure, it's extra everything to you. So,
Well, thank you.
Perfect.
any other key questions you want me to?
Yeah.
Any other questions about the drills that we do in school?
Is it 3 lockdowns a year?
That's good. Two. I thought
Two
it was two
lockdowns and a shelter in place.
that are required.
And always assume they're real.
Because
and
even the
So
the real ones we
locked in.
count as our
Right.
drills as well.
Right, yep.
Should a bear end up on Shiraz and we're in shelter in place, we will count that as a.
Okay. All right. Next is absences and find substitutes.
With the new.
With the new one, so has everyone got on ASOP to do that?
Is it required to get your 5 top subs?
All of them.
I put mine in, but I mean, is it required or else you can't utilize it?
As far as I know, no. Even though Sherry's email did say that,
It did.
but I looked at it and I don't have top five because no one speaks French, so I don't pick anyone.
They should be.
So as far as I've used it, and it's not
Anybody on there?
without anyone on it, it's always found me someone. So I don't think it's required. I think it's good if you have people.
Sure.
Like I know the Spanish department, they have like 3 people that actually speak Spanish and
Yeah.
come in, so they put them all in there. But if you know someone that speaks French, it's a sub. Let me know, please. That'd be helpful. Have you gone on to ASOP yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I need to, because I need to go do my observations first.
It's fairly easy once you get used to it. It's definitely different than Subfinder was. I think it's a little harder to work in the Subfinder necessarily. But
To search for a sub is kind of nice, because.
yeah, you can search a lot easier on that. That's for sure. So just make sure you get on there. The district should have given you an email, password, and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
they
easier to
keep
get it done
sending
now when you
emails.
have time instead of when you're sick and don't have any time to get it stuff. So I would have shown that, but we don't have a computer or projector in here that we can use. Any questions about reporting absences?
No, really?
You need to look sub in another
You're so
building.
busy.
I've had 5 calls this morning for a sub job. Happens almost every
Yeah,
day.
it's
You're
like,
gonna double time, like only if it's at Mount Garfield during this planning period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During this minute.
During my planning period, I'll do
Even
it.
with the change to the new system, you're
Yeah.
all in,
So-
I'm gonna look you up.
Well, so that's what happened is I called down there and I was like, hey, take me off the sub thing. Like, okay, and then when they switched the system, now it's
You
Oh,
are
you're
back on.
What's isn't it 5 in the morning? You have till 5 in the morning. Isn't there a deadline?
I
There
know-
isn't, there
I
isn't.
get calls.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
not
it's
a-
emergency sub.
There's not a deadline, but if you're here and you need a sub, then you just have to Sherry and
Right.
I think the admin, not just Sherry, can actually put the sub in for you. But
Oh, okay.
at least with Subfinder, you couldn't put it in after 6, is what I believe. I don't know if it's
Right.
still that way.
I think it is the same way, because Matt texted me and he said it's too late for me to get a sub, I'm calling in an emergency sub
Right.
today.
So Julie Bittner then just takes that piece over, so
Okay.
she'll start calling, or she'll set the
So, the wheels in
system to
motion.
do it.
Yeah, but the system has it so that way you can't just
Yeah.
too late, so they don't have enough time to get a sub. But
7:20.
yeah, I've been here many times in the morning, like I'm gonna go throw up. Can you please?
This
And
isn't gonna work.
It's not gonna work. So as long as you let Sherry know, she's all made that work.
This is I don't not to jinx anything too, but people have gotten in a wreck on the way to
Yeah,
school, and so
right.
we
Oh.
had to. Yeah, but let's not.
Thank you, Jen.
So if we can't
Yeah,
make it in,
exactly.
do we call Julie Bittner?
If you can't get in,
Yeah, if
you
it's
can
too late
call
for a
Ju-
sub,
if
or
it's
do
too
you
late,
just call
but
Sherry?
if it's
Call Sherry, she's
7:30, call Sherry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I-
Sherry doesn't get here till 7:30.
And I would just call the main building, and whoever's here will give me to Dan or
Oh,
whoever,
okay.
and they'll, because for admin, because they'll do it.
Because then what
They
we'll do is
understand
we'll
it.
try to find somebody until somebody comes here.
They can, because
So-
they can manipulate the
Mhm.
schedules. For
Yeah,
us block
even
to
if you
find.
don't need a sub for some reason, you're gonna be gone in the afternoon when you're co-teaching or team teaching, you know,
Right.
call a sub in, because for reasons like this, that we can send the sub, especially if it's a school, we've got a, their
3 or 4
budget.
subs in here.
Yeah.
And
They're
also, we can
budgeted
also,
anyway.
and you know, if there's not subs in the building, we can move teachers that are on planning and pay them a stipend for teaching that class as well. So
Yeah.
Did you fill
It's
out?
like 20.
as long as we
Did you
know
talk to
what's going on.
Yeah.
Anybody about when you covered by fifth block? Because you should get paid for that.
Oh,
Oh.
I should get paid for all the times I've watched Doty's class then.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
dang,
it's
it's like every
$20
other
a shot.
day.
Matt?
But you, need to, you have to go through the admin to get that though, because they're the ones who
Oh,
gotta
okay, so we need
Because sometimes
Yeah,
they're gonna
so
need
I'm
me
gonna
to
go
say
yell
no.
at him.
It's not an
Sarah.
automatic.
It's not automatic.
Okay.
Now,
I'm gonna
if,
go
Ask
yell
her
at
about the phone and
him.
tell her
Okay.
if they come to you and say, hey, we need a sub, can you come during your planning period? Then
not this
they'll
last Friday, but the
Right.
let you know. They'll let you
Right.
know. They'll get a
If
stipend.
you do it as a
Except, like,
favor,
like,
you've
like,
worked
was
it
this
out,
weird
you
thing.
probably
Dang
are
it!
not
Yeah.
Ah, I'm gonna go yell at
Hidden
him.
Just like
blessings.
Austin said, if admin comes to you and
Right.
says, we need somebody in chemistry, but
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Well, and it's one of those things too, like, in my old building, like, you had to, like, call yourself an absent before you could get paid for some, it was, like, bizarre.
And that's exactly it.
So,
If you're
'cause you
doing it
can't
as a
double dip.
favor,
But if
Right,
you're
if
like,
you're doing it as a
and
favor.
often, like, and depending on like what it is, if you do something often for somebody, like, okay, like for Doty, he's gonna have a higher pay scale. So why in the world would he call himself in?
that was good.
perfect.
Right? Do you
That's
see what I'm
exactly
saying?
it.
Well, and most of the
So-
time I don't do anything anyway. It's
So-
they know what they should be doing,
If
and I'm
there
sitting
is
in the
a
office.
sub job
Yeah.
that doesn't feel like, Nick was just saying, he was out for wrestling.
Yeah.
And so that sub job did not get filled, and we need somebody to fill it.
Yeah.
And you fill it.
Yeah.
And you
I
filled
filled
it,
it.
because it's already sub, it's every step.
So it's like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, any
fine.
questions, more questions about that, or? Okay, last on the list, the most fun, discipline and behavioral referrals. So, I brought a couple of examples.
Oh,
I know, I'm
Good.
going to make you guys feel
Like,
super
good.
excited.
Yeah.
So, the first one I'm gonna give you is probably the easiest one to fill out. Oh, thank you.
I can't.
Sorry, Jenna. I'm pretty
No,
sure you
I'm
know this
good.
one
I
already.
got
You wanna
it.
see some more of
Are you
it?
sure?
So this one you can fill out for anything, really. So you just need to put the student's name on there. Obviously the dates to serve. Usually I go 3 days max. If it has to be more than 3, there's something else a problem that you probably need to talk to the administration about. But 1 day we usually nip it in the bud. It can be a lot of things. You give I guess we don't do after school content tutoring, but you can do Saturday school and campus cleanup. So you just mark on there how many days of campus cleanup you're gonna do. So if you pick the dates of today until Wednesday, that's 3 days. So you just put 3 days on there. And then you just need to actually give this, not to the library or anything, you're gonna give it to Annette Peterman, the health assistant.
Oh, okay.
She's one, or you can give it to Kelly Lynn. Both of those, she's in the department business teacher.
Oh,
So
yes.
both of them do that.
I
So
would
you
put
can,
it in our,
you can put it in her box as well.
Okay.
But Annette will works with this, and so does Kelly Lynn, and she's her
Okay.
box to put in there. So
Okay.
they're in charge of that, yeah.
So Saturday school is considered a discipline thing? I thought it was just an academic.
They asked us to avoid using it
But you can-
punitively.
But you can use this as an academic
Right.
thing, intervention as well.
The
That's
way
why
that
it's
I
on here.
use it, for example, is
Yeah.
I have a young man who has just a hard time staying on task. And so I just say, you know, hey, I just wanna let you know that I'm gonna assign you Saturdays so that you can finish
Right.
your work.
In the past, we
But
used
it's
to have
not like,
after school as well.
Yeah, and it's a logical.
Right. See, in the past, we used to have after
response.
school as well, and you could say what would be easier, after school content tutoring on Monday or Wednesday, or Saturday school. But we don't have that anymore. So Why is that still on your Jen? Any ideas?
Because these are
Saturday
expensive.
school?
No, but after school content tutoring.
Oh, because we have, we wanted to use all
Yeah,
those.
we have
Okay.
a ton of these, and they're expensive.
Yeah,
Duplicates are.
there are
yeah.
triples too.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Anyway, then you need to put your name on here. Make sure you get in contact with the parent if you got to contact the parent. Why they're being referred. That's always important so the kids can know.
These are-
What's gonna happen if they don't get it? So something you can always talk to admin about. You can just do more Saturday school or more campus, not more Saturday school, excuse me, but more campus cleanup.
So that's how I used it, is
Yeah.
here's Saturday school. If you don't go, you're gonna have campus.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so they can get multiple days of campus cleanup as well, and that's not. It's happened in the past. And then what you need to do with this, the students need to sign this or initial it. It doesn't have it on there, but I always, it's up top. Make sure they initial it so that way they've talked about it. If they refuse to initial, just write there refused for initial. I've never had a student refuse.
I've had a couple of students say, well, I'm not gonna sign it. And I just say, well, you know, we can make it a big deal and we can walk down to the office and have you sign it in front of Mr. Bollinger right now.
Right.
So-
Right. Most of them are just putting it up front because they think that's gonna stop you from doing it. And
Well, they
even,
know their rights usually.
right, and even if they do, like I said, you can say that they decided not to sign it, and we can still turn it in. It doesn't mean it's not gonna happen, it just
Yeah.
shows that you've talked to them.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 copies, you keep the yellow, give the
Protest.
kid the white, and the pink, like I said, goes to either Kelly Lynn or Annette Bearden. So that's the first one, probably the easiest one, hopefully that will help out. The next one is,
Can I ask about this one?
yes,
Okay, so who is in charge of Saturday school for kids that are not doing anything? So like, if I'm an advisory teacher and I don't have the student, but
Mhm.
she's flunking 3 or 4 classes, who does that Saturday school? As an advisory teacher, should I do that, or should that be?
Should be the.
I think it should be their
The content?
content teacher, but I know Sarah is in charge of all Saturday school stuff. I don't think there'd be a problem if you go to that teacher and just say, hey, this student's not doing anything, do you know that we can have Saturday school? Have you talked to this, because maybe they have talked to the kid, and the kid just said, I can't make it.
Okay.
Carrie Thornton will help as well. You can shoot her an email that says, hey Carrie, I've got this kiddo on advisory, 4 Fs. I've called home as the advisory teacher to suggest Saturday school. Would you help me gather homework? Carrie will go to all of those teachers, put
Okay.
it in a file folder, and make sure the Saturday school teacher gets it.
Okay.
And there's
She has the
also,
hours to
there's
do
also a
that.
form online, if you go to PHS Connect and sign under staff, on the left-hand column it says MTSS, which is our
Okay.
RTI. So, for behavioral things, if they have an issue, you can go on there and fill out the form. And Dan was telling me that that form will actually go to Lisa Hawkins and also go directly to the counseling office and go directly to Carrie. And it's another way of getting more people involved that before the admin happens, because sometimes you don't, maybe there's something outside of the classroom, you know, that's hurting them. So that you can do that, and it goes to those people automatically.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of things like, what things have you tried already? Have you already contacted parents? What intervention has worked? What hasn't worked? And then on there as well, it gives a couple of examples, like there's a Harry Potter that got in trouble in the school, and it just shows you, kind of filled it out for you. So that's MTSS, it's called, multi-tiered system of support, I believe.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
And so that's another way. So that's the second way. So this is the first one they said. This is the most easiest one to do. Hopefully this one should work, and if it doesn't, you can use the behavioral thing. And the MTSS online is just behavioral stuff, not academics, unless academics are caused because of behavioral. Okay, any other questions? Good questions.
Okay.
Boarding house for each year.
Other questions about this little form? Okay, last form to talk about. This used to be really big when I came to the school, but they're saying it's not super big now. I don't know if we have enough.
So avoid using it, or?
Well,
does
it's
it
just-
matter?
We don't use it very often anymore.
Okay.
As teachers, it's like it's an admin one.
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of thing as this.
For teachers.
Yeah. To give to
To
admin.
give to admin,
Oh.
correct.
Gotcha.
And in the past, I've just made a copy of this. I don't have this form in my room, and I just have it filed. And in the past, I used to have my aides filling out for all my students and put it in their file folder. And then I just pull it out and fill it out. So really, it's a compilation of multiple issues that happen constantly. So let's say a student is just continually belligerent in your classroom, and you're like, well, it's not bad enough, or it's not obvious enough for me to say, okay, down to the attendance or the office right now, but you want to document what's happening. So on the top, you do student, what's your teacher name, and all these incidents. So let's say the first time he just didn't want to do an activity in your class, and it was the end of the class period, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. So you just write down what happened, what actions you took to combat that, and then write the date. Once again, they're going to initial, and so after 3 times, then you can now send it down to the or to the administration for them to take care of it. But like I said, this is more of a bunch of minor things that are happening before a major incident occurs, and then it's just like constant issues that are happening. Could be academic, could be behavioral, could be a lot of things.
I had a student who just didn't do anything, and he would just sit there and refuse to work. And so, and so he wouldn't do anything, so it was just like, I mean, 3 days in a row, I just said, didn't do anything, and then called mom and dad in.
Right. And it's great because it shows, here, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried it with dates, with the student initial and everything.
Yeah.
So it really works really well that way. And it also has the, underneath that, the major incident report that you just are filling out paperwork wise when something big happens in class, like they hit a teacher.
Well, and I think this too is nice if especially if they, you know, have, if they're labeled, whatever, that
Right.
the case manager knows. Not like the case manager is some golden ticket, but
Right, but.
it's good information
nice
that can be
if
well
this-
hidden unless we dig deep for it when it comes time right there.
Right.
Exactly.
Great
That's
viewpoint
true.
from Lee.
You know, I was thinking, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
How about a self-referral? I've had a few kids self-refer themselves to Saturday
Yeah,
school.
they can sign
Oh,
themselves
yeah.
up.
Do they need one of these things? Do
No.
they
No,
come
they
in?
just talk
Oh,
to
okay.
Sarah, I believe.
No, they can
They
either
just
just
come
show
in.
up.
So it's
Yeah.
not like
A
nursing
parent can refer. A parent can just bring a student. So they don't have to be on a list.
Mhm.
It's not by
There are certain
invitation
days, but
only.
the calendar has those days in blue.
No.
Right.
SS that are blue, so there are certain days.
Sarah just sent something out with all of the Saturday school
Mhm.
teachers as
Yep.
well. And I think the reason that Nick was doing it because he's got the math background. Landon's on there, so he's social studies. He can do some writing. Who, are you on there? Another?
I'm gonna be there in March
Okay.
and
There's the one.
April and May, but just when we're done with wrestling.
Okay, so wrestling, you're off the, but when a student, if you see one of your students that needs some additional math, when Nick is there, because I don't think there are any other math people.
And sometimes people have teachers sent like the work that needs to be done, they just need to finish this work, but they're just not doing it at home, so, or they're not doing it, period. We just have to do this, little centers can just do work too, if there's no teacher, like for me, for example. It's like, they have these 3 quizzes they gotta take care of, and they've done that before, so.
So
Yeah.
with Nick's, so with those 3 incidents, did you do one and then one of these?
So
Second
I would
one
do
and then one
one,
of these?
I would do one, and then I would call mom.
Okay,
And in this particular case, couldn't get a hold of mom or dad. And so then the next day I did another incident, tried to call mom, couldn't get a hold of them, and that was that.
Hot.
And so
Mhm.
finally,
Like
after
keep
the
hot.
third incident, just said,
Like
hey,
crazy hot.
you have to go down to the office, send them to the office, and then set up a meeting.
okay.
My viewpoint of this is a great way of showing, do they need to have campus cleanup for something that's minor in my class? No, but it shows a record of what's going on. After 3
Okay,
times,
yeah.
then I think it's
Just
enough
the
to say,
record piece.
then you have this, where this
Yeah.
one is more of a, okay, that's something that I believe that they need to have campus for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like fighting or anything,
It's
but,
more like one-off.
Yeah.
But like this is kind of somewhat uncharacteristic, but way out of line.
right,
Okay.
Whereas
This is more of a
characteristic
a
flaw that we
constant
need to work
thing
on.
that's happening.
Yeah, I like your idea of copying it. It's a great record keeper.
Yeah, it does,
NRTI
It's good for RTI,
wants to
yeah.
know this, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's good for both things. Other questions?
Thank you.
Oh my
bells
gosh.
on today?
Chili's awesome.
Yes,
Yeah,
those
I
are
know.
on today,
This
so
red
it's
is
35.
amazing.
Oh, okay. 2 minutes.
No, seriously amazing.
Does anyone, yes, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, so kind of wrapping it up, thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you.
And then, food always helps.
Yes.
Especially on these cold,
Yeah.
darn
Snowy.
days.
Yes.
Snowy is one of the.
Being new to the building, to the profession, how do you guys feel it went from the beginning to, you got a semester under your belt? What would you tell your new self? Or what would you tell your new, the new folks in the fall? Or what can you tell us
That we can
to
tell.
ensure?
Second semester is better than first.
So how
Seriously,
do you,
like just-
Unless you have a musical.
yeah.
Right. And then it's like, post-musical is better
Yes.
than pre-musical.
I'm like, what do I do with all this free time?
Uh-huh.
So what are some
Yeah.
things you wish you knew at the beginning of the year that maybe we didn't cover, or I know some of it's hard because some of it's like, I know we covered belt schedule, but you're still
Or didn't
like, what the heck?
emphasize how important it was to.
Yeah, and like another thing is like it's do try to help that student avoid the failure, but just remind yourself it's really not the end of the world if they get an F, because like second semester you're a lot better when you start learning, because sometimes it takes that experience to learn.
Well, and freshmen are 8th graders.
Yeah, and the freshmen
They're really not
they're not freshmen
the high school kids that you
spring.
think about.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're not second semester freshmen.
Yeah,
right?
second semester freshmen, first
Much
semester
different
freshmen are
than
definitely
freshmen.
different
Yeah.
people.
That's
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
is a big difference. It's a very big difference.
I think something that I wish I kind of would have known was MTSS and RTI. I mean, how does that work? Especially in this particular position, you know, what's the protocol and is it even in
Yeah.
place? I mean, a lot of times schools talk to talk and it's tough. RTI and MTSS are a tough thing to keep legit in the school. PBIS, you know, I got the thing from Ms. Moats, but I just got, these are the bucks and, you know, if I
Right.
wasn't
Right.
a former teacher somewhere else,
You
I wouldn't know
wouldn't.
what PBIS really was.
How about our pack duties?
Which is our PBIS.
Yeah, in fact, you know, it's a little unclear as well. I saw it from the what do you call it, the dog timer, not
Right.
anything else.
Yeah.
I just written online.
Would pack be? I think pack's the hardest thing as a new teacher. Would it be better to have like a general idea of what pack is instead of just what you're? Because everyone here's advisory teacher. Would it be easier to have what's the general? What's everyone doing? How's it all work together? Or just a better
How does it
idea?
all work together?
See, that's what I think would be
really
the hardest
good.
thing. How's it all
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, there's a
Or do we just
That's
advisory?
just new, to the building, because as an admin, I'm like, what?
Well,
What
when
are
Jen
we
was
doing?
first here,
How
she
am I-
like really confused as
Almost a
well.
flow chart maybe.
Okay.
Well, the in-services pact is huge. I mean, Dan was talking about a lot, you know.
We
pact
talked about,
was
we
of it.
tried to.
And it
Yeah,
seemed like
there
kind
just
of
seems a
almost
lot
a
of
way to
things.
graduate kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness for Pat Steele. My
Yes.
goodness, if you didn't have that stuff, I would be study hall.
That's a pack duty.
Yeah.
That's a pack
It was
duty if
good.
anybody's interested in it.
At the end of the year,
It's
Dan
been
will send an
different.
email asking
Mhm.
for things if you want to do.
So if you liked advisory, it definitely helps being an advisory teacher. If you want to be an advisory, if you want to be the advisory advisor, exactly.
That's your
For
advisory.
teachers, teacher advisor. He was an advisory teacher, so he had a really good, but that's his pack duty, is creating
Good
those
job.
lessons.
Yeah.
Does a good job with it.
Really has his finger on the pulse, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one last thing, the whole key thing, the alarm thing, the when can we come in thing, all that stuff, just the logistics.
Building
I know I
alarms.
set the alarm a few times, and this isn't my first, I mean, this is over the summer, when you give me the keys, and I was fobbing my way in on a Sunday.
Which
Yeah.
door you can come in and which
Yeah.
door you can't come in.
A Sunday in
Thinking
June,
Are you
I
bringing
think.
that with
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
One another.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll
That's-
take another
You
shot.
want to
Bell
go,
rings, you
guys.
need to go.
Or
Did
you
it?
leave.
If you
Go
have-
left.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
left.
I guess
I'm
you
sorry.
can't hear it in here.
I know it's hard. There's no
Uh-oh.
bell. You hear from the hall, so you have about 2 minutes.
It's not
2.5
gonna be pretty
minutes.
down there.
They can rehearse their monologues till I get there.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Austin.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for the chili. It's delicious.
Yes.
Thank you for the bread. All right, so it's Saturday. Came into school to finish this leading video that I just did this week on Monday. So I chose video 2 again, and so I'm just going over the post-activity reflection video right now. So I'm just gonna look at the notes for the guidelines so I can make sure I get what I'm supposed to do. So, as I mentioned, we had a meeting with all the new teachers. I gave out an agenda, and on the agenda I did an introduction to myself, why I was leading the meeting, what we were planning on talking about, and we had actually Jennifer Marsh, the assistant principal in charge of new teachers. She brought lunch for everyone, which is obviously a huge hit, which made my job a lot easier. So that was very nice. I did follow the agenda. All the people I asked the same question. They said yes, followed the agenda. On the agenda, I wrote an objective to better inform and acclimate new teachers to our norms and our climate of the school. Everyone said that those objectives were met, that they felt that we accomplished a lot during our meeting, that it was very informative for them. They said we used time fairly well. It went a little longer than they would like, and that I would like. But we did, go over everything in depth, and they had questions. We answered all their questions. So went a little bit long. I actually thought it'd go shorter. I had a couple of odds and ends at the end of my agenda that we didn't get to, but because I thought it wasn't going to go that long. But they did have a lot of good questions, so we went a lot longer. Luckily, we did have lunch. It was during lunchtime, extended part of lunchtime, so we finished the normal 20 minutes of free planning period they had, and then we finished the rest of lunch in there. So a total of probably about 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes being in there. So it was a lot longer than probably what I had planned, and they thought it was just a little longer. But they said we did a really good job communicating things. Jen was in there. She also helped out a lot. In fact, our principal walked in for one of the moments, and we had a question that neither Jen nor myself knew about. So we actually asked him during the interview, and so that was helpful that he showed up. But overall, they said communication good, and that was good to collaborate. There's one of the people in there had good, ideas of how to use some of the forms as far as discipline goes, and he, gave a good example of that to the other new teachers. So that was very good. They liked that. The teachers thought the topics that we covered were very good and important. Like I said, we had already surveyed the new teachers, so we kind of had an idea of what they would like to talk about or what they needed to talk about. So we just followed kind of what they had told us already through the first survey. So let me now onto my reflections. So that was when I went and asked them individually what they thought of it. Those were the answers we got. Anyway, so the reflection, what went well? I thought it was really good. It's always hard being not really an administrator, leading an administrative meeting. So I thought the new teachers were fairly nice, I guess would be the proper word, considering that we were taking up their time. Yes, it was beneficial to them, but I think at first a lot of them thought it was kind of a waste of time, that they were just doing this because I needed that to happen. So it was nice to have Jen Marsh in there as well to kind of be the liaison between what I'm doing, what she did in the past first semester, and how they all apply together, and really helping these new teachers out. So that went well. The other thing that I think that we struggled with as far as the personnel as new teachers, we had 6 people at the meeting out of the 10. Everyone else was out of building or forgot. Of those 6, half of them have already been teachers for many years. I think we had someone with 12 years experience, 20 years experience, and like another 15 or something like that, where they've been in different buildings. But since we were talking a lot about school culture and school norms, we thought it would be important for those people to also be in that meeting. And some of them actually had a lot of more of the questions, I think, because they knew what other buildings had done. They had done their other schools, and they wanted to know how we were doing it here. And like I said, even though we've already been doing this for a semester, some of them still were confused about how to get certain forms and doing certain things. The brand new teachers, new to teaching in general, they had a lot of questions about the substitute finders and the drills and how that all looked. But it was the seasoned teachers that are new to the building that had questions about discipline and the forms for that, because I think they're just used to how it used to be in their old school. Now it's all new, brand new things. So what I would change, it'd be nicer if we were in a different spot. We actually got in the conference room, and that's also where the rest of the main office staff, about 4 or 5 people, kept their lunches. So constantly in the back of the room, we'd have, I was on one side of the room with the camera, and then on the other side of the room, people would be coming in and out, opening, closing doors, getting their lunch. And that's why the principal came in. He was getting his lunch, and we just happened to bother him while he was getting his lunch real quick. And so we asked him those questions. But so I would change the venue where we were at. I would like to have it in my room, my classroom that I have. I don't have anyone in there, and it's quiet and peaceful, but it wasn't up to me. It was up to Jen Marsh. So we did that in the office there, but that's what I would change. I would have a different venue. I would also probably rather have a meeting with the new teachers separately, brand new teachers, than those new to the building. I think it'd be more beneficial, just because sometimes I thought some of the seasoned teachers new to the building kind of thought we were wasting time because they didn't have questions about some of the things we went over. So it'd be interesting to split them up a little bit and see what they thought differently and the things they needed. Because I'm assuming the brand new teachers would have a lot of different needs than the seasoned new to building teachers have. New to building teachers probably just have a better idea of how things are done, whereas the brand new teachers need an idea of how to do things. So that would have been some differences I had done. What surprising information was revealed through this experience? I thought that it was interesting that people didn't know how to do finding subs. That was one of the biggest surprises when I saw when we had the survey and got the survey back, that they still struggled finding subs. We're already almost a semester and a half into the school year. I mean, for me, when I was a new teacher, I just remember thinking I was over my head. Maybe that most new teachers don't take sub days, but when I was a new teacher, I was like, I need a day off just to relax. But they didn't know how to do that, and I thought that was very surprising. Something else that I thought was surprising was, one of the teachers said that he didn't have a key for all the rooms that he was in, because he's a rotating teacher. He does a lot of sped stuff, so he goes in different rooms. And I was surprised by that because normally we give out keys so they have a key to every single room they're in. He did bring up a point sometimes he goes to rooms that he's currently not teaching in, and he doesn't have a key to those. So when we have lockdown issues or procedures, how does he do that? So that was another thing. But overall, I thought it was kind of surprising that he didn't have a key for everything. But it's not up to me. If it was, I'd make sure he did have a key. In our building, every area has a different key. So I, as a world language teacher, I can't go into the English department because those doors are different. So that's how it works. The last question: how will this experience transform your practice as a school administrator? I thought it was good. When I did talk to Jen about, excuse me, when I talked to Jen Marsh, the assistant principal in charge of new teachers, about doing this, she at first said she just wanted to know how they feel now, and I said, well, we could use this as a learning experience for next year, so next year's new teachers. So she really liked that idea, so that's why in the survey I asked things like, did they feel comfortable doing things at the beginning of the year, and if they did, do they still now, or if they didn't, are they still confused now? Talking about how it was both in the past and now in the present, how they feel, and I thought that was very helpful. And then at the end of the meeting yesterday, I don't know if this was on the video or not. I don't know if we stopped it ahead of time, but she asked the same question: What was good about this meeting? Not only the one we just did on Monday, but what was good about? Hold on. Automatic light. Sorry. Then what was good about the meeting at the beginning of the year that she just did with them? And so, trying to figure out how to better both of those. So next year, the new teachers to the building and the brand new teachers will have a better idea of what it looks like and what that means to them, and how we as an administrative staff, we meaning the admin team, and how they can make it work, how they can make sure the new teachers feel comfortable at the beginning of the year. Because a lot of the people who I had 4 replies back from the survey. More than 3/4 of them said a lot of times they were confused, but now they understand. And this one again is, why are we making our new teachers suffer through a whole semester or a month of not knowing how to do certain things? Our school norms, or the culture of the school, what it means. Whereas they got to find out the hard way. That shouldn't happen. Now, of course, there was a checklist provided by the district, and all the questions I asked in the survey were basically from the checklist from the district. And a lot of times I thought maybe Jen Marsh had talked to the new teachers about that, had explained to them what it is. But when you're especially a brand new teacher in the building, things going over your head, you have so many other things going on that maybe it'd be better if we divide it into basic things they need to know at the beginning of the year, and then after the first week have another meeting with just the brand new teachers, so that way they can ask questions and we can help them out that way. Once again, kind of time consuming, but when you think about it, if we get the new teachers on board quicker, maybe it'll be smoother for them. We can maybe save teachers from leaving the profession because it will be smooth for them. But you never know. Everyone's different. But anyway, so those are some of the things that I thought that I've been thinking about this week after we did our meeting on Monday. And so there you go. Thank you.